We are back for another edition of Live from Red Hook here at the Funktion House, Tuesday night. Getting close to the end of the season. We just have 3 episodes left till we wrap it up for 2019.
Season, yeah.
I know, it's already, Thanksgiving was over.
December just rolled in real quick.
And now we're approaching the Christmas holidays, but we'd like to, no further ado, introduce our very special guest here at the Funktion House tonight. Someone that was on the New York City nightlife scene for many years, played in such clubs as The Tunnel, Limelight, Roxy, Palladium. So we'd like to welcome Steven Zor to the show.
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Oh,
How are you?
good. Feeling good. Good to be here.
So talk to us about where you're from, how you got into the whole DJ game.
Well, I'm from Brooklyn, the inner boroughs, Coney Island, where I originated from. And basically, I always had music in my household as a kid. My dad played the guitar. We used to sit around. He used to sing Beatles songs to us.
Do you play any instruments?
Little keyboard, not much. But, you know, it was always music in my house. So it was always music in my house, and my mom always used to listen to all the oldies, the Motown, and things like that, the Bette Millers, and Al Greens, and the Barry Whites, and things like that. So I always had music playing in my house, and
So when you first started playing, did you gravitate towards like classic music like that?
well, no. My sister, you know, I grew up also in the disco era and the freestyle era and the breakdance era. And my sister, I'm a sibling of 4. I'm the youngest. And my sister, my older sister, she always had equipment in the house. And she used to date a local DJ. And she always played freestyle and disco in the house. And I used to practice with that. And I actually got my first equipment from her.
Wait, so she was a DJ?
No, she just always had good equipment. She was into music. She loved music. She had the Technique turntable with the belt, with the arm, the electric arm. You know, she had this really cool tape deck that you could do some massive pause splicing just with the pause button. You know.
This was your sister?
Yeah, my sister. So I got my first equipment from her.
Oh, you got a very nice sister.
Yeah, and then of course I saved my money, and then I bought a 1200 Technique. So I had one 1200 Technique, and then I had my sister's, which was a Technique, but it was the arm that moved. You know, it wasn't self-drive.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy, though, like that's how everybody's progression was? You know, like either somebody was like handing something down to you, right?
Yeah.
Or you're going to have one Technique 1200, some belt drive turntable.
An SL200.
You know, like these kids today, they don't realize how easy they have it, because even like some of the cheapest controllers, like you could literally go out and buy a controller for like, I don't know, $100. But it's going to give you unbelievable features to control, let's say, everything in Serato.
Yeah.
You know?
It's amazing
So
technology.
like the entry point to become a DJ today is like you could be a star, $100 controller.
Yep.
Even with the tempo, like I grew up, how do you beat match? You tap your foot on the ground, on the one.
Yep.
You tap it, and there was no digital where you see the BPMs, you know, and that's basically how you beat match them.
Did you BPM your records?
Some of them I didn't, you know, I didn't write it on there. I literally did it, you know, just out of feel, you know. But some of them I would write on there, but I didn't do too much.
Yeah, I was never one of those guys that sat there and BPM'd my records.
I felt the same way.
I BPM'd every one of my records.
Oh, really?
And I wrote the name on a sticker in the top right-hand corner of the actual cover. I put a sticker, I put the BPM and the name.
No.
So when I was looking through, I would just look through the corner to see what it was.
Yeah.
No, what I did do to cut time, I had a little signature mark that I would put on my favorite side of the record. So I would know, I would see that mark, and right away, boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
You know.
So what was some of the early clubs that you hit when you first entered the scene?
Well, when I first entered the scene, the first club I ever been to was Danceteria, Palladium, and Fun House. But the danceteria I went when I was very, very young. I had a friend. It wasn't a friend. It was this gentleman that lived in my building. He was an African guy, and he used to perform and do these African performances and play the bongos and the gongos. And at the time, me and my brother was into breakdancing, so he incorporated our breakdancing into his show. So he had a show at the danceteria in the late 80s. And I was allowed to do the show, but I wasn't allowed to leave that area because I was so young. I wasn't allowed to walk around the club or go anywhere. I only could stay where the stage was, where we did the show. But it was an experience, just going into the club and seeing all that for the first time and the different floors.
And danceteria was a poppin' place back in those days.
Yes, it was. And then my second experience was the Palladium in the late 80s. Well, just to know how I was able to get into these places, my parents was separated at a young age, and my dad lived in the city, and my mom lived in Brooklyn. So I would spend the summers in the city, and the winters in Brooklyn. So I had the best of both worlds. And my brother, he made a friend. He had a friend named Bobby, and Bobby was also at the time friends with Madonna and Keith Haring. So I got to meet them, and Keith Haring. And he brought me to the Keith Haring Andy Warhol party in the Palladium. So that was a wild experience. And then...
What year was this? Like 1991?
This was, in the 80s, the late 80s. And then, I know I'm showing my age, right? But I was pretty young then anyway.
We're all getting there.
I knew people that got me in, so... But, and then... at that time, I was DJing, I was doing block parties, and I was doing, outlaw parties. There wasn't raves at the time. We would just, pick a random spot, set up equipment, and do parties. And then I went to, my brother took me to the Fun House. And when I went there, that's when I knew, I said, I want to do this. This is what I really want to do this professionally. I seen Jelly Bean in the Fun House and the Clown Mouth, and that whole culture of the mix, and the bathroom with the unisex, and and all these different multicultures of people just vibing and getting along, and it was pretty interesting. So after that, I really, really wanted to do that. But at the time, I was going out. My brother was also friends with Johnny Donnell. We used to go to the Tunnel and see Johnny, and I just kept doing it. At that time, I hooked up with Lord Michael, and we were doing outlaw parties and raves. I did the whole circuit in Staten Island, the Cave, the Wave. And then I hooked up with Repeat, and then we got into the Limelight, and we were doing the Limelight, and then I stopped doing the Limelight, and I got a residency in Velvet. It was around the corner from Limelight, and I was there for some time, for like a year and a half, doing a residency there. And then Steve Ramirez and Lord Michael came there, and they recruited me back to Limelight, and then that's where I met Michael Francis, and then he hooked me up at the Tunnel. I got my residency at the Tunnel, but I was also doing guest spots throughout at the time. All the clubs, Ohm, Cheetah Club, System, the Building, all these, spots, Nails, and that's how I had it. I had a nice long run at the Tunnel, 5-year residency.
So what were you doing back then for music? Was it purely just record shopping, or were you getting a lot of promotional because I guess in those days it was still vinyl.
Yes.
Right? And there was nobody like handing out MP3s to everybody of remixes or whatever. You had to get either test pressings. Were you on any type of list or anything like that?
No, I used to do heavy record shopping. I went to all the record stores. I mean, from 8-Ball to Vinyl to Decadent to Groove Records to Frankie Bones in Brooklyn. I used Music Factory in Brooklyn. I did the whole record, scene, and I loved it. I used to go there, spend hours, and they knew me there, so they would put things on the side for me. Also, I had a couple of friends, up-and-coming producers that would give me their stuff, and I would test out, and that's basically it.
So you were at the Tunnel for 5 years.
Yes.
That's a long stretch. You must have seen some shit in that place.
Oh, yes, I have. Yes, I have. Some wild times, good times, crazy times, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, of course. It's a great experience.
So when you used to work, so the Tunnel, obviously, there were some pretty well-known DJs that held residencies there. You had Junior Vasquez held a residency there. You had Danny Teneglia, who held a residency there. Where did your residency fall with those guys? Was it before or after, or who?
Well, I believe I took over after Junior. Timmy Register probably played maybe one or two more times after that, and then I took over, I believe. Because I remember when I took over, Timmy Register was playing that night. So I don't know if he played the week prior before that, but I know Junior was the resident, you know. So, and then from there, I was there for a few years, and then Danny came aboard. I mean, we had guest DJs. We brought in acts and DJs from all over. But as far as the residency, we had Danny came. He was aboard for about a year and a half, doing the after hours, detour.
Yep.
And then he left, and I continued there for another year or so after. And then I left, and not much time after that, it closed down. But, yeah, it's...
And now Tunnel is actually, it could be rented out as an event space, right? I believe it's an event space now.
Yeah, but I don't know how far would the event, like, will they let you go?
Yeah, I don't think they'll let you do a like an outright nightlife party there,
Right.
but it is available to rent out as an event space.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it still looks exactly the same, minus like all the lighting and everything.
That is pretty cool.
It's that was a great club.
Also, to go back to what you were saying, how I got some records. When I was resident at these major venues in New York City, you know, artists would send me their records to play because I was the resident. So I guess they wanted us to break the records there.
Yeah.
I broke Brain Bug and Follow Me there, Future Breeze. We were the first club to bring them into the States and have them perform at our club, as well as me breaking their records there. So that was
Future
pretty-
Breeze was Why Don't You Dance With Me?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. So we were actually, my manager at the time, Teddy,
That
and
record
Michael
was
Francis.
huge.
Yeah, yeah. I was playing it before they performed and came into the States. But like I said, at the time, my manager, Teddy, and Michael Francis, and myself, we reached out to them and we made it happen. We got them to perform the first time in the States at Tunnel, and also I played him.
Wow, that's cool. That's probably how I got put on the record. Think about it. Back then, you'd go out and listen to DJs to find music. You know?
Well, you'd listen to Glenn Fisher on Saturday nights,
Yeah.
right, on the dance party. That's how we came across records. So you said holding residencies in New York City, that opened up the doors for you to do traveling.
Yes, at the
Right.
time it was unheard of for a DJ to really travel out of the States unless you had a major record out. But my manager and I, we marketed myself by holding residencies at major venues in New York, and that worked for me. So I got to travel abroad, many countries and cities, Paris, to name a few, Moscow, Rome, Turkey, Istanbul, Marseille, Brussels, Rouen, Cannes Film Festival, Rome,
Nice. Keep going.
and it was an experience. It was definitely an experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world, you know. And you know, I was doing production then. I'm getting more into it in my older years, coming back now
What do
into
you
it.
use for production?
Ableton, and Ableton, and mostly virtual sound modules. I like the hard gear. I like to try to mix it up, you know, because I like the hands-on. But let's face it, the way it's going, we got to get with it and, you know, utilize it and work it.
Yeah,
You
of
know,
course.
What's your take on syncing?
my take on syncing, not too good. I mean, I guess it's good for beginners DJs and people that are trying to get the hang of it. But I mean, I guess to each his own. I mean, if they're pulling it off and the night is tight and the selection is good and the mixes are good, hey, I guess it works. But me personally, I'm not a big fan of the sync button.
Well, because you don't need the sync button.
Yeah, no, I don't
So,
need.
I
I
mean-
never use the sync button.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean,
I barely use the metronome when.
yeah,
You know,
I
when
mean,
you're producing, you know, even though it's handy.
I think the sync. Obviously, you know, DJs who are sort of doing the open format stuff and playing hip hop, you know, syncing's not. I don't think it's utilized as much, right? Because they're going in and out of records and quick and stuff. So it's like it's very hard to sync.
I mean, here's a question: would you rather hear a DJ go off beat, or would you rather a DJ hit the sync button?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Of course, we would all want the night to be flawless. You know, who wouldn't? But I think a person that uses the sync button is to also learn to DJ without it. I just think it's just something that you should just have.
Yeah,
You
of
know,
course.
I agree with that
Yeah.
because we do have some people that come and play, and they have to switch from the other DJ. You know, they're coming on to play, right? So let's say we have one DJ playing records, you know, playing Serato with the vinyl, and then you have say another DJ coming on, and he's gonna play on the CDJs with sticks, and he's got to mix into the vinyl guy.
Yeah.
I've seen it where they've had a hard time to mix in
Yeah.
to the vinyl guy. You know, so it's interesting, you know, because you may be put in a situation where what if for some reason the sync's not working that night?
Right. You know, if the computer breaks or, you know, like
Well-
tonight, I'm going to play no computer, no sync, just straight up ear.
I want to know how you came up with the name Zor.
That's funny that you asked. Not many people ask that. Well, it came from graffiti. My brother, my middle brother, Paulie Zantz. Well, it's Paulie. In case you don't know, that's not my real last name. That's my stage name. A lot of people say, what do the Zors eat in their house? It sounds like some gothic Rome. But anyway, back to the question. Zor. I got that because my brother used to write graffiti, and he used to write Paulie Zantz. And I always wanted to, you know, to have a graffiti name, you know, like be like my brother, you know. So I was in the staircase in the projects, me and my cousin, and we're writing on the walls, and we're writing all these names and trying to come up with names, and, you know, we came up with Zor. And I said, oh, I like that, Zor. So I used to write Zor. So then my brother, he told me, you know what? You should incorporate that with your name. That should be your DJ name, Steven Zor. I said, you know what? I like that because there's no such name. There's no, it's unique, you know. So I stuck with that, and it stuck.
It's a cool name. It's got a great ring to it. And I remember hearing your name a lot growing up.
Thank you.
So yeah, Steven Zor.
Yeah. Some people used to make fun of me because at the time when I was in the tunnel, I had bought this this sampling box, the Dr. Boss, I think it was called, and had all these, I think it was 8 pads or 6 pads, and you could do different samples in it. So I was at home, and I was so excited. I was playing with it, and I recorded my voice, Steven Zor. And I used to play that at the tunnel. And sometimes I got a little carried away with it. People were like, you know, oh, man, Steven Zor, you know. I loved it. I was like a new toy. I was Steven Zor. Every third track, Steven Zor. I was like, so it was pretty cool.
That's funny. That's funny.
Let's talk about this shirt real quick.
Oh, yeah, we want to see my shirt. Whoa,
Yeah.
it knocked me off the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my shirt.
That's the
My
flag
brother
right
designed
there.
it. It's a TF logo. Been around for many, many years.
What exactly is TF?
Well, it was a support group we made, you know, coming from a broken home, bunch of kids in the ghetto, you know, who couldn't read and write, who, you know, was lost in the sauce, who basically it was a bunch of misfits from all different races, and we made our own little family. And at that time, it was bad in the boroughs with the gangs and all that stuff, and you know, so we made our own little clique, and we took care of ourselves, and we defended, and we looked out for each other. And at the same time, we brought out the best in each other. Who could do graffiti? Who could break dance? Who could, you know, and we incorporated all that. And basically what it stood for is peace, love, and racial harmony, unity, brotherhood, righteousness, together forever. You know, what you would teach a kid, like the Bible, you know. And it's definitely a good movement, a good cause. Unfortunately, we gave the less fortunate a chance because that's where we came from. And, you know, we gave most people that wouldn't get a chance to be a part of us, to be in our family. And we had a lot of knuckleheads, you know. So of course, a lot of the knuckleheads got in trouble. And they would label us all as, you know, the knuckleheads. And it really wasn't. It was started as a good, positive movement. And again, a lot of people got down for the wrong reasons. They got down so they wouldn't get picked on no more. They got down to get girls. They got down to, you know, do whatever bad they were doing and get away with it because they knew that they had people behind them, and it wasn't structured for that. But, you know, it was good. It was powerful. We had a line of clothes. We did graffiti. We did breakdancing. We helped a lot of kids out in the boroughs. We also had a women's softball team we sponsored. I also used to get a bunch of guys, and we used to deliver Christmas baskets to kids in the hospital with the Equity Fights AIDS. and things like that. So we were on the right track, but you know, a lot of guys fell into drugs, the main guys, and a lot of people got in trouble and went away, and things just got a little messed up. But for the most part, it was a positive movement, and it made me who I am today.
Speaking of breakdancers, you did a couple breakdancing parties.
Yes, we did one major one at the Limelight and a second one at the Palladium. Now this was after the breakdancers era. You know, back in the day, I used to be a part of a crew called Break to Dawn, Fresh Kids. They did later on, and so as the years, I think we did. I forgot what year it was. It was in the '90s when we did this show. So it was basically I was bringing back the old school to do like a reunion of the breakdance show, and we did a whole theme. It wasn't just a show, a breakdance show. It was we did like a whole theme. You know, we had graffiti writers. We had the police come out. There was a police fight breaking with the graffiti writers, and then turned into a breakdancer show, which went over so well. They wanted us to do it again at the Palladium, which we did. Breakers Reunion 2. This was all in the '90s, and also I think that night when we did at the Palladium, we had X Hector was DJing, Charlie Casanova. I also DJ'd that night after the show for a guest spot.
Do you have any video footage of that?
I have, yes, I do. I didn't bring any, but I do. I'll get it to you. I have footage of both. The quality at the Limelight is not that good. The Palladium's a little better. I also have footage of back in the day. I merged with Romeo, and we used to do his techno shows at the Palladium, and me and my brother was his backup dancers, and I used to do the beatbox, and my brother used to rap with Romeo, and we were his backup dancers. We did quite a few shows at the Palladium, and let me tell you, these shows at the Palladium, you know, the Palladium hold over 8,000 to 10,000 people, and this club was packed.
Yep.
For everything that we ever did, they were always packed. All these clubs, Tunnel, Limelight, Palladium, hands down. You know.
Yeah, I remember
It was a special
Romeo.
place, man.
I remember Romeo when he used to, you know, like the first time, like I went to Palladium, like a couple of, you know, in the beginning when I was first going there, and he would perform sometimes on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
He'd get out on stage, and he was a big presence. He had the long hair.
Yeah. Well, we had the
He
long
was
hair
big,
too,
yeah.
so that's why we made a good combo. My brother and I, we had long hair. You know, I was up in my game with the DJing at the time. My brother was up in the game with his Brooklyn Zoo rap group at the time. And Romeo was doing his thing, and we thought it would be a great idea. So it was cool. We all had long hair. We was all diesel, pumped up. We were doing Techno Nation, and had our shirts off with our long hair. We were stomping on the. It was crazy. It was cool. I got some. I'll get it to you. Some
Yeah, I
footage.
definitely want
It's
to see
pretty
that. Post that footage.
Yeah.
Yo, thanks for coming down. It's been great talking to you. We're looking forward to hearing your set.
All right. Well, it was awesome. Thank you for having
Got
me.
something
Yep.
special planned for us?
Yeah, what's the flavor tonight for the set?
Well, I'm gonna play current with old mixed into it, and then I'm gonna go into some classic vinyl from those days.
Sounds
All
good,
right,
man.
great.
All right, we're going to take a 1-minute break. We're going to get Steven Zor up on the set. He's going to rock live from Red Hook here at the Function House. Go to thefunctionhouse.com to watch the show. Peace.
Function House, baby.
Peace.
The Function House.
All right, we got Steven Zor live from Red Hook here at the Function House.
Deep in my soul, yeah. 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 Deep in my soul, yeah.
deep, strong, penetrating drum.
All-Matic Club, let me hear ya. If it ain't groove by now, it ain't gone. That's why I'm looking to see. Woo, shit. I want you to know that I'm looking for the All-Matic Club. Now, if you got the All-Matic Club, let me hear ya. If it ain't groove by now, it ain't gonna. That's why I'm looking this evening. Woo, shit. I want you to know that I'm looking for the All-Matic Club.
baby. And when the music starts, I never wanna stop. It's gonna drive me crazy. Put a record on, I wanna.
Warm beat. Warm beat. Warm
I used to do when I was.
Yeah, you played some good music.
Thank
Very
you.
good music.
Thank you.
I haven't seen a CD book in a long time.
See that? Look at that. I made that special for you. I forgot the dough, though.
Oh, nice.
Well, I made it for tonight.
You're actually the second person that's played with CDs.
Really? Who was the first?
First guy was the guy from Ireland, George Feely.
Yep.
He
I was-
played with CDs.
I was gonna use the USB, but I said, you know what? I was gonna keep it real organic. I didn't really use too much effects, no computer, no
And
sync.
you played vinyl, bro.
Yeah.
vinyl, and yeah.
Yeah, you played well, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for
played a
coming down.
nice. I liked, some of the newer stuff you played was really good selection, and then you played some really good vinyl records, and a couple of the records you played. I mean, I knew all the records you played, and some of those records that you played are like timeless.
Yeah.
Meaning, like they're not aging in terms of the sound. It's like
Yeah,
Give Me Love is unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
A lot of these records.
Reach is another one.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
pretty,
that Felix the House Cat
almost 20
track,
years old.
track that you played was awesome.
Thank you. I like I said, I had fun. This was great. You guys are doing an awesome job. I love this whole concept. You guys bringing the DJs up to the forefront. They could tell their story at the Function House.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And hopefully you guys have me back, and I have much newer stuff. I just wanted to bring it back a little for some of the old timers like myself.
It's all right. We're all old time.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming down, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You're always welcome here at the Function House for our
Thank you,
shows.
Steven.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to my man, DJ Scissorhands,
Yeah,
Brooklyn,
Brooklyn
Clan,
Clan.
and my partner Nino Blemo out in LA. Nino, love you, brother. And keep a listen out. My next track coming out is going to be on Sector Records. It's Children of the Night, so it should be coming out soon in the next week or so on
Shout
Sector
to
Records. All right, Brutal Bill, and I got some nice remixes by Scissorhands and Tommy Mist. So love you guys. Thank you for the support for all through the years.
Thanks for
My
tuning in.
TF family. Love you, brother.
Thanks for tuning in. You can catch the replay on thefunctionhouse.com. Peace.